fantastic. I bet you when Sibelius wrote that's the third movement of the Fifth Symphony, that's exactly actually how he wanted it to sound. Sadly, there were no Fantoms around at that time, but it's great that we can enjoy it now. Welcome to number 2 in this video of the introduction to the Fantom. Today, I would like to explore something that is very common to Roland instruments now. And you may have heard the expression, Google is your friend. Well, in the Roland world, and particularly the Fantom world, both the Fantoms, shift is your friend. Or, as we sometimes say in Scotland, shift and shoogle. Shoogle is the Scottish way of saying shake, so shift and shake. Don't worry, you're going to find out exactly what that means. Essentially, what it's like is like shortcuts. It's like a bookmark in Chrome or Safari, and you don't really have to think about how you get there. You just have a shortcut, and you get to where you want to go, because the whole point is that you keep creating, that the workflow allows you to keep creating as opposed to having to think or remember or go to a notebook or go to a website and say, how do you get to that? Now, that's what I'm like with Premiere Pro. I have to, I don't use it often, and so I forget, and I have to go back and look it up and say, how do you do that again? Anyway, thankfully, Roland have thought about that for us, and so what I would like to do is just actually take the surface and essentially go left to right and show you all the shortcuts. Now, obviously, there are differences between the Fantom O and the Fantom platform in terms of the hardware available. For example, there are less over here on the scenes and the zone area, and there's not so much as well. However, please don't let that put you off, because the principle is exactly the same. And it's not just the Fantoms, to be fair. It's the Jupiter, the new Juno, they've all got it and have for a while. So let's get on and see what we can do. Now, the first thing that I'd like to do is actually show you a negative. There are some shortcuts that actually, they go straight to the action. We don't need to do that to think about a shortcut. For example, chord memory. On the far left, way over here, if I just press chord memory button, it goes straight to the settings for chord memory. That's great. I didn't have to hold the shift button, which is here. It's just straight to the action. Now, as far as the left is concerned, the first one that actually uses the shift combination is portamento, because if I click portamento, you just have to trust me. There's nothing to watch. I can't get the camera far enough away to get, because this is a Fantom 8. You press portamento, it's a toggle. It's on, off, on, off. That's great, good. But how do I go to the settings for that? Glad you asked. Hold shift, press portamento, and then you go straight to the zone edit. Now remember, in the first video talked about how you always know where you are, because up here it shows you the name of the screen. So we are in the zone edit, and there's portamento switch, which is off, portamento time. And so there are some immediate ones, and then you can adjust it for each of the zones, of course, because it's applied to each one. Yeah. And so that's grand. Now, the other way that you can, I'll just come out of that. The other way you can do is the classic shift and shoogle when you're in Scotland. And that is, either with the joystick or the wheels, hold shift. For example, if I just... Which is exactly what I expected to do with the joystick. However, I press shift and shoogle. Look at that. Go straight to the common for the tone edit, because things like that are relative to a tone. Okay, so it means that, for example, you can have different tones, and the pitch bend goes different ranges, maybe a fifth or an octave. So you get interesting effects doing that. But that's how you quickly go. So you get this crazy idea. Oh, I'd love to do a perfect fifth, but also an octave. Boom, just like that. There you go. Same with the wheel. I'm going to press Shift and then wheel 1, and you go straight to scene edit. Now that's controlled by the scene. Okay, so by also pressing these shortcuts, you actually understand how things are saved, and you start understanding a little bit more about the structure. So it's not just going to the parameters that you want to you've suddenly thought about. You're actually getting the information about how the sound is structured. So, for example, I'll just repeat: shift and pitch bend. It's tone edit. So we can do this per tone. If I do the wheel, it's for the scene. So we start understanding that. And actually, that was wheel 1. We go to here. Here's a clever thing. I love this. Clever Roland engineers. Shift wheel 2. And you see, it goes straight to wheel 2. It knows what we shuggled. And so, great, it does that. Now, that is the principle. That is it. Now, what I do is invite you, whether you've got a Phantom or a Phantom, to do this exercise yourself now. And just go, left to right. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to damage anything. If you get the yellow box up, we all know how we can either save it now or we can actually just disregard it. So that's cool. Right, so exit. Now, let's go over here to the zone button. And of course, you've got 1 through to 16 in 2 banks so that you can show which ones are the active. So that's 1, 2, 3, but obviously there's nothing in 9, 10, 11. Okay. If I press Shift and Zone, boom, Zone Edit. And we've got all this wonderful goodness. But you'll see, because I've got 9 and 10 selected here, I've gone to 9 to 16. I've gone to the relevant screen for the active bank. Brilliant. And so you get straight in there. You can do that. You can do a transpose. You can do a fine tune between tones, etc., etc. And remember, when you edit at a zone level, you're not touching the tone. So the tone remains intact. And when you press the writing button and write in a zone, you're just writing the zone within the scene. And so the tone you can use in various different ways, but with different scenes, that tone can sound different. We're going to explore that more in future. So I look forward to doing that. So exit out. Assign is all about the buttons here, and you've got assign 1 and assign 2. How do we do that? Go to those parameters. Yep, you've guessed it. Press the Shift button and press assign. There we go. You see? Straight to the action. Yep, and so we can do that. And it's similarly Shift. If I do Shift like that, we actually go to the mixer because it's actually set on pan level. So there is all sorts of interesting ways. And there you see my meter coming through. Brilliant. Right. Exit from that. Master volume doesn't do anything. Split, yes. There's 2 ways, of course. You can just press a split, but Shift also takes you to, I'm going to change the active. There, we can very quickly change the splits for each of the things. So you might just want a bass sound down here, but you don't want a bass sound up here, do you? That's not going to work. So what you do is, let's pretend that it's zone 2. You just highlight the top and then dial down. And then so our bass sound will be limited up to F#3, but nothing will sound up here. And so that's how you do that. And of course we've got our yellow box because we've changed something material in the whole scene. Okay, so Shift and Switch 3, you're not going to be surprised where that goes. But again, you can then just do that, press Enter to get all your choices. You've got all sorts of ways to very quickly get on. Now, USB audio doesn't do anything with Shift, so nothing to worry about there. Right and Shift doesn't do anything. Master Effects is another one that just goes straight to the active effects, but when you press Shift and Master, you actually go to the chain. Okay, you've got your compressor, your equalizer, your master compressor, master equalizer, and the effects. And so that's how you go to your chain to very quickly affect on the master effects side. Analog filter, of course, that doesn't happen on the Fantom O, but there's nothing really that happens with Shift at all, because you press that, you go to it, and it's active. And yeah, Shift doesn't do anything. DAW control, similarly, is straight into your environment of choice, and nothing exciting to see here. Same with menu, that only goes to menu, doesn't do anything else. Scene select, they do what they say. Just go zone view. Yep, there you go, zone view. Oh, that reminds me, I apologise. I should have said, normally I share the sounds, and I'm going to share all the sounds that that are new or unique and not standard. But those horns that I played for the Sibelius earlier, that is a standard out of the box preset. So you've already got it. So fill your boots with that. Tempo, again, doesn't do anything with Shift because it goes straight to the action. Yeah. These are navigation controls, so of course Shift doesn't have any effect. However, Shift has a great effect on the jog wheel because there are thousands of sounds in here. There's, and I defy anyone to remember where they all are. Oh yes, I remember that lovely pink noise thing that had a brass and had the Jupiter 8 as well. And how are you going to remember that unless you've written it down and you use it every day? Truth is, you're not. However, obviously there are shortcuts here to get into relevant sections if that's how you remember it. But if we go here, if we go into zone view and then enter, right, we get all these, right, and we're up to 1924. Now we can go like so, yeah, to navigate through. However, if I go to 1870, and I hold Shift and I do one click, you'll see what happens. 60, 50. So it's much quicker to navigate through. So if you are going through all these sounds, it's a really nice little shortcut to, again, keep that, if the muse is upon you and you're creating, the last thing you want to be doing is going click, 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 one by one. So again, the Roland engineers have given us a way to quickly get around that. Shift and enter. Shift and enter is brilliant, and something we should all use, I think, because it's so easy and it's context sensitive. That's the other thing. So it doesn't matter the screen you're in. When you press Shift and enter, it will be relevant to the screen. So let's say I want to go to 050. Okay, now I know that's a bad example because you can see 050. I can just press that, right? But what I'm wanting to do is actually show you Shift and enter, and you can see it happening. So Shift and enter, the number pad comes up, and it's really that simple. It's giving you a number. So 050, and you then press OK. Boom. It's selected. So that happens on any screen. It can be a parameter when you're editing deep in a tone edit, or it can be trying to find a string sound that is a favorite. You can fast track it, as opposed to, even with the Shift and jog wheel, you might have to still do 1,000 to move through. If you know the number of the scene or the tone, then you can quite simply do Shift and enter, press it in, and off you go. You're sorted. Yeah. For the Fantom users, we have this. There are some parameters that change, but the thing is, we've got parameter buttons here, so it goes straight to the action. Okay, parameter here for the oscillators, and then parameters for the filter, for the three envelopes that we've got, and then parameters for whatever the active delays are, effects. So there's nothing really happens there. Similarly, here, these are all things that just go straight to the action. TR rec, goes straight there. Pattern, group, song, doesn't do anything. Shift TR rec goes the same thing. Shift pattern, same thing. exit out. Then we come to the sample pad here. Now, nothing happens for hold, bank, clipboard, and pad mode. I'll show you. Well, hold is just a toggle. Bank, yeah, which bank of samples do you want to use? Clipboard is, again, something else. Then you can select the pad mode. But sampling, if I press sampling, far right, you're taken to the sampling menu. However, if I press shift and sampling, I then actually get to, I haven't selected that, shift and sampling, I actually get to this. So I can then start playing the samples. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically it. That is all your shifts and shortcuts, your shift Shoogle shortcuts. um, Play around with it with your instrument. Like I say, you're not going to break anything because you're not actually changing any of the details. What you're doing is you're navigating it. So that's the shift button. It's great for keeping the inspiration flowing and so that the machine doesn't get in the way of the art. And so go with that. You'll find that you've got some favorites because of the way that you work. Make a note of those and then get in the habit of using it. And then, honestly, muscle memory takes over. It really does. And then you just keep creating, which is what it's all about. In the next video, my plan is to show you this in a little bit more detail. Obviously, the 4 edits are that's their own topic, but we'll touch at it at a high level. But I'll go a little bit deeper into all of the other ones because there's some really good and important housekeeping type things around the system, file utility, and utility that I want to go through with you. And so that's what's coming next. So happy music to you all. Keep enjoying your Fantoms. Go to the Facebook groups and join up if you're not already a member. The links are below. And any questions, fire them in there. There's a great community that would be happy to help you. One day you'll be able to help somebody else. So that's what it's all about. You take care, and thanks for your time. Bye-bye.